This is my part 2 of the 2019 fall semester at One Shepherd, which will focus on the final culminating event at every One Shepherd training semester, and that is the field training exercise. In part 1, I covered the situational training exercise, which focused on area defense, deliberate attack, and screen operations. Field training exercise is a just over 72-hour simulated military operation in which students at One Shepherd are divided into two opposing sides, Op 4 and Blue 4. Blue 4 typically wears woodland camouflage, while Op 4 wears solid green OD utilities. At the start of every One Shepherd FTX, the students are given a Road to War brief. This brief paints the picture of a fictional conflict for which the students are taking part in. Following the Road to War brief, the students are then turned over to their respective appointed patrol leaders to begin prepping for the coming mission. This semester, I was assigned as a fire team leader for the Op 4 team.
All right, gentlemen. This is the Road to War. You don't need to write this down, you just need to understand it. So I'm going to tell you a story. The international community insists that the Balto-Slavic Republic, BSR, wants to turn back the clock to the Cold War years by reasserting BSR military dominance over its neighboring states. BSR military actions follow a cookie-cutter pattern to justify invasion of a sovereign state. Years ago, when Demizovsk, a neighboring state, sent its own military to put down an internal dispute for independence in a contested northern region of the nation that bordered the BSR response was to side with the independent movement within Demizovsk. This political posturing was used then to trigger an open, large-scale invasion of the neighboring state. Support each other. And one of the things you can do for your troops is give them the time and space tonight to get their shit together. All of their shit. Physically, mentally, emotionally. And let them prepare. If you really do right by them, you're letting them get to bed as early as possible. Lights out R2300. Chow is 07. I don't prefer you do your first call before, reveille before 06, but if you want to do that and do PT with them, that's all up to the leadership, okay? I'll let you guys work together to figure that all out.
This FTX I was going to be fighting alongside a lot of familiar faces, one of which was my good buddy Les, who also has a YouTube channel called Pegasus Test. Another character I trained with in previous One Shepherd semesters is Gabe, who we all like to call Hollywood. Gabe is like the character Q from James Bond. Every semester he comes with some kind of new advanced technological piece of gear that he's trying out.
All right, we got Gabe here. He's one of the students here at One Shepherd, and he's got all kinds of high-speed stuff. So we're gonna check out some of the equipment he's got for the FTX. Gabe, what you got, man?
All right, so what I have here is a weapon system that I've been developing for the last couple years, trying to piece together. I'm calling it the Timberwolf, but basically it's a land warrior system that the U.S. Army was developing. The target audience for this is Minuteman, militia, sheepdog, anybody that wants the edge on a combat situation. We've got Smith glasses here, safety glasses with viewfinders built into them. And then we've got a special cable adapter that I have that's meant to withstand the outdoor activity out here.
And that projects an image into those glasses.
Yeah,
right?
so it projects the thermal image into the glasses, so you can look around corners, you can look over trenches, you can see the enemy without exposing yourself, and you can engage the enemy, most importantly. This allows you to put a power bank to the glasses and a power bank to the scope. So you could run up to about 34 hours just on one power bank. And I'm making all this gear myself, so I got my own sweatshop, kind of one-man sweatshop, so to speak.
Where can they find that if they want to get this stuff?
Well, this is going to be on my Miltech Moto website, so miltechmoto.com. And so basically we're going to have all this stuff sold on the website. I'm going to be building it myself and sending it out to customers, anyone who's really wanting it.
Cool, man. What do you got over here?
What we got here is we got something like a light claymore. So instead of like explosives, you're actually using lights. And these basically are remote control lights. They have their own remote, and you can switch the remote on like a safety, so you prevent NDs. And then over here you've got like an antenna that extends outward.
Yeah.
And then you can actually activate the lights from about 175 feet, about maybe 2 blocks if you're on a flat.
Could you
city
test
block.
it? Can we see it?
Yeah. So, you have to turn it on, and then boom.
Awesome.
Yeah. So and then you can turn them off, and they all go on at the same time. So we'll have about 9 of them out there on the FTX. We'll set them up on the perimeter, and then when the enemy's in our field of fire, or about to breach, we can just go boom, and basically blind them. And this will blind anyone wearing night vision, anyone not wearing night vision. Basically, it was developed because not everybody out here can afford Gen 3 nods. So the whole point is that we're getting the people that don't have nods up to par with the people that do. And we're basically leveling that playing field. So if you're in a militia or something, not everybody can afford nods. This is a great tool to implement because you can basically cover a perimeter or cover your base or whatever it is. And if somebody's trying to breach with nods, this will blind them. This will basically prevent them from prevent entry.
You told me some of those are IR, right?
Yeah, this one right here is IR. So you have a separate controller for that actually can tie into the IR ones.
Nice.
And these are 940 nanometers. And so you basically can activate these, keep them on. If you have night vision, then you can actually see the enemy without them knowing that they're illuminated. And then you can turn them off. So you can turn them on, off, whenever you want, up to about 2 blocks on a flat, like unobscured line of sight view. So yeah.
Awesome. Gabe's gonna hook me up with some of his thermal footage, so we'll get some good stuff from that as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna get some really good stuff out there. So yeah, like I said, miltechmoto.com. We're gonna have these on sale. These are prototypes, but I'll be streamlining the building process. And the same thing goes for this. This will be on sale too. It's a service for this stuff because I'm piecing together readily available items, but I'm putting together so that it's easy for the average person to find.
First day of the FTX started off bright and early with a little morning PT to get the blood flowing.
Yeah. Drop your cocks and grab your socks.
Following that was morning breakfast. Next on the agenda would be pre-combat checks and inspections. This was done to ensure that all the students stepping off of the FTX had the proper gear to make it through it and be combat effective. The morning of the FTX is always kind of interesting in that both OPFOR and BLUFOR are still co-located with one another at the FOB. Here you can see that the BLUFOR, who are soon to be our enemies, are still conducting their PCCs and PCIs just on the other side of the FOB of us. Next, we were given a quick fraggle on what our mission was going to be for the FTX. It's always a good assumption to assume that the FTX is going to include missions that are going to incorporate some of the things we learned during the STX earlier in the week. After receiving our fraggle from the patrol leader and assistant patrol leader, the team leaders then turned to their respective teams to fill them in.
Out to about right here, the map in there where they showed it on us on is a little different, but just these 2 or 3 grid squares right here is where we're defending.
Not even
That's our
that.
corridor.
It's a grid square and a half from here to here because there's a pond right here.
Directly
That's
south
mine.
of the FOB.
Sure. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
That's mine. So
So-
we just got 150 meters to defend.
That's it. Everything else is notionally mined.
This is all mine, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And there's no circumventing it.
So just this corridor right here of green,
Just this right here.
right that grid line right there.
Yeah.
Shoebox is what we called that, I think.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Hey, right now, just getting a fraggo, okay? The patrol leader and the assistant patrol leader right now are developing their order, okay? So we'll get the full in-depth order later. So they gave us the fraggo, so we got pretty much the bare essentials of what we need to know to go off so we can get ready to step, all right? All right, so I'll say it again. Our mission is to occupy and defend the area of 4825, 1927, to 4840, 1927, from enemy advancing from south to north. You guys look on the map here. So the grid I gave you is here, okay, to this area right here. So pretty much tree line to tree line, okay? Okay. All right. This area adjacent, open field to that barbed wire fence, and this barbed wire fence to, it's the property line, okay? It's notionally mined, all right? So essentially, and this is not in play, so essentially this is all mined. The enemy cannot utilize any of this. They have to come up through this shoebox here, okay? They have to come up through there. So we're to defend from here to here. That's going to be our defensive position, all right? And the enemy's going to be coming from south to north. All right, so we'll get into the weeds and the specifics later on, but that's all you guys need to know right now, okay? Right now, we have until at least 09. Okay, we're going to conduct PCCs and PCIs, so I'm going to come by your gear, I'm going to check it out, make sure we got everything we need, okay? Already passed earlier. In your butt pack will be your Gore-Tex top, one chow, and an extra pair of socks. All right? Okay, stand by your gear. I'll be with you in a second.
Just after 09, we stepped off from the FOB to establish an area defense in the vicinity of the grid we were given. My fire team was assigned as the point fire team, and I was subsequently tasked with navigating there. Our first hurdle was crossing a barbed wire fence with all of our rucks on. I soon found an opening in the fence caused by a fallen tree.
Walk down there and then jump down.
Once over the fence, we moved to an ORP where the leader's recon was conducted in order to check out the area for which we were going to be setting up an area defense in. Upon completion of this, each team was subsequently set in and turned over to the priorities of work in establishing fighting positions. The patrol leader, however, wanted to push out an LPOP as soon as possible, so one of my guys and I pushed out a couple 100 meters out in front of our newly established lines in order to be an early warning for the rest of the unit who was digging in.
Alright, so we're set out here at LPOP. The rest of the squad's back there, been digging in the defense. So we're just the eyes and the ears of our unit right now. It's your first time at Wood Shepherd, man. What do you got to say? I love it, man. I wouldn't rather be anywhere else. Good shit. So, alright.
After a couple hours at the LPOP, we were soon relieved by two guys from another fire team. We then returned back to help our fellow team members in digging in. Fighting positions would be constructed completely across the corridor for which we were defending. The positions were approximately 15 to 30 meters from one another, with TA-1 field phones set up to each position that had comm with one another and the CP.
Testing, testing. Bravo, can you hear me? Testing, testing. Bravo, can you hear me?
After the positions were dug, tarps and cami nettings were then strung up over the top for camouflage and to simulate overhead cover. And lastly, natural vegetation was added to the front of the position to help break up its outline. Next, we strung up plastic fencing from one end of the corridor to the other. A small opening was left near the center for friendly troops to enter and exit friendly lines. This fence simulated triple-strand concertina wire, and there were rules in place for how it had to be breached by the enemy. Next, I set up a couple early warning trip devices in front of our lines in an effort to get us a heads up if enemy forces were trying to move towards our position undetected. These are simple devices I made out of inert grenade fuses with a 12-gauge shotgun shell primer. Lastly, we set up the remote-controlled IR and white lights that Gabe had made in the trees oriented downward on our perimeter. The idea was being that if the enemy does hit us at night, we will hit them with the lights and they'll light up their position, throwing them in a disarray and illuminating them for our guys without nods to engage.
Alright, you see this? See, look, watch this. Red light?
Yeah.
On. Off. Now I have to make sure they're all off. Now let me stand this out just to make sure. Kind of like your garage door opener. You know what I mean? So it's off. There's no red light. Alright, next one.
Well, that was it, guys. Now that all the positions were constructed and tied in, wire and early warning systems were in place, it was now time to play the waiting game.
Alright, this is Cribs, Fighting Hole Edition. So over here we have our portable comms. Got my other fire team's fighting position over there. Field phones connected to all the other fighting positions, and the CP, which is back behind us to our left.
Alright, so we're drawing towards the end of the first day of this final field training exercise. We've been sitting in the defense for several hours. We constructed fighting positions. We put up notional concertina wire. The rules with that is that the enemy can't just knock it over, even though it's just plastic fence. It's representing concertina wire, so they literally have to snip every section of it in order to breach it. In addition to that, we've got these white light and our IR cameras out there. I've also got the shotgun primer, grenade fuse, trip wires. I got 2 of them set up on our rightmost or westernmost perimeter. So put it on a likely avenue of enemy approach that I'm pretty sure they're probably gonna end up coming in on. But our fire team has the westernmost flank of our squad here, so we're holding it down. We got one fighting position over there, manned by 2 of our guys. And I've got Philip out here. It's his first time out at One Shepherd, so he's making his YouTube debut. What do you got to say, brother?
I love it out here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are wrong. You need to get out of here.
So this is your first time, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've never done anything like this before. I've never been in the military. This is amazing.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an electronics technician.
Nice. So you did the basic Warriors course.
Yeah.
Situational training exercise. Now you're doing the FTX.
Absolutely.
So you're doing the full-blown deal. Yeah. Congratulations, brother. I know you're gonna love it.
Oh yeah.
Alright, here's the other 2 warriors in this fire team. You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. I'm Joe. This is my brother, John. We're from New York. We're happy to be here, man.
These guys both your first times out here, right?
Yeah, first time.
Badass. How you liking it so far?
It's nothing else like it, man.
I know, it's fucking legit, right?
Yeah, man.
What do you guys do for a living?
I work in logistics.
Okay.
Merchant mariner. I'm in shipping now.
Nice. And now you're sitting in a fucking fighting position. Ready?
It's the cube any day.
Yeah.
Better than cube.
Awesome. Oh, y'all are some hardcore motherfuckers, so fucking welcome out here. I'm glad to have you guys in the fire team.
Yeah, man.
Hell yeah.
As the sun started to set, some of the security patrols had reported that they had heard what sounded like shovels and work being conducted in the area to our south of our location. Les and I were then tasked with conducting a long-range reconnaissance patrol to the south in an effort to determine where the enemy was located.
What if we had the regular screening element for the purposes of the buffer going 100 meters, but at some point throughout the night, we sent an actual reconnaissance team, and that could be Brent and Les, and they actually go deeper and try to get an idea of where the enemy's hold up at. So if they do that, we could get some intel on possibly what the enemy's next, action is going to be. If they get eyes on their base or get audio on their base and they're all seem like they're sleeping and all that, then we know they're probably not going to attack for the next couple hours. On the flip side, they might run into, the attack force may be coming our way and we'll run into them and they can come warn us, right? But we can kind of gain some intelligence in the battle space and expand, we can have more information for our decision-making process down the road.
If we're going to do that, though, I want to start sooner or later so I can get through these woods.
Before it gets too dark.
Yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately all the cleared areas are mine, so you're going to have to go through woods, so you're going to have a lot of time to do that. Would you be up for that?
Yeah, let's do it. Where would I go?
The recon mission was very successful. Les and I skirted the minefield to our west, and we headed towards the area where we suspected the enemy was staging. After we found them, we gave them a few rounds just to let them know that we knew where they were and to get in their OODA loop a bit. After returning to our lines, we briefed the PL on what we had learned. Later that night, the enemy struck us just past midnight and launched their whole assault on the westernmost part of our lines, which is exactly where my fire team was dug in.
So it's just after 06. We got hit pretty hard last night, but we were able to repel their attack. One of our sentries who was on watch heard them coming in, was able to foil their attack. So they pretty much threw everything they had at us. They breached one of our wires, but we stopped them dead cold. So we've already repaired the wire. So we're literally just back in the defense, just holding the line here.
right now we're in stand 2, so just waiting for enemy contact. Our orders are to defend this position. Walk me through the recon mission last night. Alright, so we departed right as the sun set. We moved to where we suspected the enemy would be. Went through some super, super nasty dinosaur land. Got all fucked up and cut up. I like that. Scratchy here. But then as we moved to where we thought they were, we first got auditory confirmation that there was something ahead of us. Then turns out the enemy was exhibiting some pretty lax light discipline. We started picking up a lot of red lens IR stuff. And then we moved in close. When we got to where we thought we were about 50 meters, Brent went forward, lit him up, and then we just did a modified peel out of there. Sowed a lot of confusion. They didn't even organize a pursuit force or even give us return fire. We then did a return to base. A little interesting coming in as our comms failed, and we had to rely on our light signals and challenging passwords to get back. Later that night, I think it was about 100 or such, Brent's side of the line took an enemy probe. He lost one man in the initial volley, and then they got into it in a nice big mix-up. Our side prevailed, repulsed attack right after they breached the wire, with the famous quote, "I'm here, kill me!" Hey man, since you were on watch last night and you're the one that detected their approach, walk us through how that all went down. So, initially I heard like 2 snaps. It was a very awkward sound. I'm not used to the noises out here, but that's not normal. I walked up to the fence, which we talked about was kind of questionable, but I heard him whispering at that point and talking to each other and pulling in. My mistake that I made that I will not be making next time is I screamed out contact instead of just lighting them up like I probably should have, or really sneaking back here and waking everybody else up and arousing everybody. It turned out okay in this situation, but I could have done better. But it's fun. It's good times. Alright, so after he detected and foiled their attack, they pretty much laid into his full force. They came at us with everything they had. So our role here, and actually at this point, I was actually asleep because he was on watch. So I wake up, it's just me in this fighting position, and all hell's breaking loose in front of me. So I grab my rifle, start looking through my nods, and I got freaking enemy in the wire. So my hole and our hole over here, to my right, he's got a set of heavy. He's got one set of 14s, and he's also got a Beck laser, just like me, on his rifle. So we just started taking those dudes down. They got to the wire. They breached the wire, but that was about as far as they got. They couldn't get past that point. Every time they got up to, pretty much fire team rush to gain ground, we were dropping them left and right. So this morning we had stand 2 at 06, just before sunrise. I went out there and checked my pews. They set one pew off, but it must have been in the middle of a firefight. But the enemy was gracious enough to leave me a magazine to replenish my rounds that I expended on them last night. At least one mag. I dumped 2 mags last night, but they gave me a full magazine for me. So I'll be utilizing that today because I'm sure it's about to get intense. That's it.
Coffee time. Alright, so I'm eating my chow right now, and I'm just really excited. I got Chili Mac, came with Skittles, so About to partake in these Skittles here. It doesn't even break where you bite it. I'm beginning to understand what you people put up with.
Despite what we all thought would happen, the enemy never launched a morning assault against our lines. I was then tasked with kicking out a 2-man patrol to establish an LPOP.
So patrol leader sent us out on a screening patrol. We ran into 2 enemy. We tried to follow them back. We lost contact with them. So we've cleared our woods. Right now we're set up an LPOP. We're just waiting to see if we can establish any more contact with the enemy.
Talk to us, Brent.
All right, so we just got back from a recon patrol. So when we first kicked off, we did encounter 2 enemy. I believe it was just a probing action. They were probing the left flank, so our easternmost part of our defensive line. Tried to follow those guys back. They headed due south. We lost them, so we ended up setting up an LPOP in a position where we could observe and listen for if they were coming down a high-speed avenue of approach, which was a more open area, or if they're coming down the woods. We haven't heard anything for the last couple hours that we're out there, so we just made it back, getting back in our defensive position, and yeah, I would imagine that they're probably going to hit us sometime during the daylight since they're not attacked. It was just a complete disaster last night, so grab some chow and get ready to slay bodies.
Outstanding.
Okay, so at this point, the expected attack still has not materialized. And at this point, Bravo's been drawn down to 50% strength. 1 man's been detailed to reinforce Charlie where the expected attack is to happen. And just detailed another person to join up and with another member of the team and go out for an LPLP in front of that position. So right now we sit and we wait. I have my automatic rifleman in Bravo's easternmost position, and I'm occupying the westernmost position.
Day 2 was thus far proving to be very uneventful. Outside of a few probing and recon patrols, the enemy did not appear to want to play with us too much. Little did we know, however, that was all about to take a 180. The enemy, who significantly outnumbered us, was already en route to our position to launch an all-out assault. Blue Force snuck in and staged approximately 200 meters in front of our lines in a dry creek bed. Their timing couldn't have been better for them. Our patrol leader at the time did not currently have any screen patrols out, which could have foiled their little surprise attack. All of a sudden, on the eastern side of our perimeter, we began to hear explosions, which prompted me to turn on my GoPro. We expected the enemy's most likely course of action was going to be to strike us on our eastern flank. The reason for this was because there were significant gaps in the wire on that side. Additionally, they had been annihilated when they tried to hit us on the western side that night prior. In preparation for this, one of the men in my fire team was also pulled and sent to the east side to beef up Charlie team. When we saw the smoke and heard the explosions on the eastern side, it only made sense. The APL even ran into my position and attempted to bump me down so that we could reinforce the eastern side. However, as soon as they began to tell me this, the OCs began to shoot 12-gauge bird bombs into the air and began throwing smoke on our side.
Okay.
All right. So you're taking this one?
Yep, I'll take this one and I'll shift them if we need be.
All right.
I want your gun down there.
This is something that no one on the op floor ever expected, or had even seen for that matter. The OCs were simulating an artillery strike on our position, and immediately the APL, who was just outside of my fighting hole, and one of the 2 men that was in the westernmost hole that was adjacent to me, were instantly killed by the arty strike.
Watch the front!
There was now only 2 of us on the westernmost side, and it soon became apparent that the enemy's main effort was coming up our side.
12 o'clock! Contact front!
Next team go.
From the wire!
On our side? Yeah, here they come!
Les! Les! On the right! They're coming in! Get ready! On the right! They're pushing on the right! Reloading!
Fuck, I'm out of the fun.
Let's go!
We've been doing this all week.
Come on!
We're moving as a team. Fucking go!
Go, 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 go! Go, go, go! Ah! Move! They're flanking on the right! Need backup on the right! Keep moving! To the right, to the right! Huh! Right side! Reloading! Moving! Are you six? Are you six, Lindsay? Hold out, where they at?
I held out as long as I could, but eventually we were completely overrun. The enemy had a numerical advantage, as well as a certain amount of instant response for their attack.
First squad, Alpha team, on me! And this is a great place to be. Hello, good sir.
What's up, Drago?
First squad, Bravo team!
After our defensive position was overran, the patrol leader attempted to rally our forces to conduct a counterattack, which proved to be unsuccessful. Having lost our defensive positions, we were then tasked with retrograding back to the FOB for consolidation and preparation for another attack to retake our old positions at 06 the next morning. Having been a little irritated about losing our position, I subsequently pitched a plan to the patrol leader to take my fire team and infiltrate through the enemy's defensive line to begin harassing them from behind, to keep them up all night and on edge in order to wear them down in preparation for the main efforts attack at 06.
Just cooling off. Okay, yeah, no problem. All right, hey gentlemen. So, in case you guys aren't tracking, You know the situation, the enemy's pushed us off from our defensive posture, right? So we used to be right here. We got pushed out of there. We're now co-located at the FOB with the rest of our squad. We're breaking up into two elements. One of them's going to be the recon harassing force, which is going to be us, okay? The other element is going to be the main effort tomorrow morning, okay? Our mission tonight is we are going to infiltrate through their lines, all right? So we don't know what their lines look like. Assuming that they just occupied our old positions, you know, they could have moved the fence to the other side. It's very possible. They could have just left it up and made their own positions on the other side of the fence, okay? There's a whole host of stuff. We're not going to know what it is until we get out there and check it out. So that's the recon aspect of it, okay? I will take a radio, see if you can acquire another radio.
Roger.
One of the other teams. That way we have a better comm situation so we can talk to them. So the first phase of this plan is we're going to come up down here to, they call this Daphne's property. All right, we're going to come down here and we're going to skirt the notional minefield, and we got to try to infiltrate through. Okay, so no contact. We're going to keep contact to a minimum. Right, the idea is to completely infiltrate through their lines undetected. Okay, primarily our job tonight, guys, is to fucking harass these guys all night. Okay, get them tired, get them constantly at stand 2, and that way our main effort, when they strike, you know, they're gonna have the main advantage. Okay, our main force is gonna strike at 06. Okay, at 06:30 is our normal respawn time. I've been told that we have 13 immediate respawns. Was it 13?
Yes.
Okay, 13 immediate respawns. So if you guys don't know what that is the OCs, they come over to our dead and be like, hey, you're back in the fight. They can do that up to 13 times. Okay, at 06:30 is our normal respawn time. So anybody that's died at 06:30, boom, they're back in the fight.
Okay.
All right, so that's in addition to the 13. So we're timing this attack so that it benefits our respawn time. Okay, the enemy does not have the same respawn times as us. Theirs is usually like whatever the opposite of us. So if ours is like the bottom of even hours, there's usually like the bottom or top of odd hours. All right, we don't know for sure, but we know it's not going to be the same as ours.
Okay.
That's the only known. So we're going to take advantage of that. We're also going to take advantage of the fact that at 06, it's still dark. Okay? Again, our advantage, because we are smaller in number, comes in our capabilities with the night, engaging them at night. So that's what we're going to exploit. Okay? Because once that sun comes up, as we saw today, they fucking whooped our ass. All right? So we're going to exploit our capabilities. So you guys, we're the ones that are taking out targets.
Yeah.
You guys are the ones creating diversions. So we've got 3 remaining flashbangs. All right, and we got 3 remaining smokes. Need to divvy that up. Okay. I've got a flare. I will hold on to a flare. Les has a flare. We will use that at some point, probably during the main attack. Okay. Throughout the night, we will launch coordinated, harassing attacks on them. All right, quick, easy, get them up, get them decisively engaged, and then we'll pull back. We'll pull back a couple 100 meters. We'll form a 360 back to back, and we'll sleep. All right, we'll sleep for an hour or 2, and then we'll come back and harass them some more.
All right.
All right, we'll do this until the main effort strikes in the morning. Does that make sense, everybody? Everybody in this?
A few questions.
Our mission would turn out to be a huge success. Fortunately, I wasn't able to gather any footage of this op, but our team was able to pass through the enemy lines undetected during the dead of night. At around 02, we began harassing the Blue 4 and kept them up till 06, when the rest of the force began its assault. Here's some thermal footage, courtesy of Gabe, who was on the main effort that was assaulting the enemy's positions from the northwest.
Gabe, hold the
Our assault was incredibly successful, and although we were outnumbered, we retook the fighting positions rather quickly and completely eliminated the Blue 4. We then prepared for a counterattack, which came around 20 to 30 minutes later. This would be the last battle of the FTX, and essentially it was just a dump X on each other.
Boys! Good work, Ed.
Thanks.
Absolutely. Let's consolidate. Leo, come here. Hey, Brent. Yeah. If you can take your sector, we'll get ours.
Okay. Alpha's got these 2 holes here. All right.
Leo.
This sucker.
Okay. Leo.
Charlie, where's Charlie?
Charlie. Here. Okay, that's
Charlie.
Gabe.
This is Josh.
Okay, Josh. Good.
Yep.
Leo.
You want us to go down to Alpha Bunkers down there?
Go to Leo. Go to Leo.
right,
Leo.
go to Leo, guys.
Guys, I got him here for you.
Where we going? We have to secure
Hey,
bunkers
hey,
this way.
you're,
Alpha's
hey,
got those 2
you,
bunkers.
yep, you need these 2 bunkers, Leo. It's all up to you.
Face the left! We're coming left! Orient your fires to the left!
Southeast.
Hey, Brett! I got guys online right here! Fall back!
Left side, north. Hey, is that friendly?
Yo, that is all enemy coming towards us. Hey, let's go! Watch the right, they're flanking wide right. Hey, 2 more, moving around to the left. How we doing on ammo? I need more.
I got a partial.
I'm good. All right, I'm still in the fight. I'm still in the fight. I got one. On the right. Front right.
Here you see me running out of rounds with the enemy charging my position. I decided it'd be a fitting end to go out with a bayonet charge as well.
Get him!
Safety kill! Bunker!
After the battle ended, we made our way back to the FOB for a thorough debrief, which covered the FTX from start to finish.
The AAR is an honest inventory. And I'm going to stop talking here soon, I promise, because the AAR is yours, the after action review. It is an honest inventory. We are going to butt in. We're going to give our perspective of things, the OCs, right, when it seems appropriate. But the other thing I challenge you to do here is not just talk about the bad, or not just talk about the good, because that's not an honest inventory. If everything was roses and we don't need to improve anything, then I'm going to call BS. I'm going to throw the BS flag. And if everything sucked and it was bullshit, then I'm going to call the BS, because I saw some incredible kick-ass shit out there. All right? So, we got to be honest with each other. Can you throw down the gauntlet? Yes, you can. But remember, don't attack the personality, right? Say, hey, I think this was dicked up and we could do this better. Yeah? All right. So, AAR starts with the plan, We'll have both PL, APL come and talk that. Then we'll start opening up the performance, and we can all start talking. And then we're going to look at issues that came up and fixes for them, or sustains. Things that came up and went, holy shit, that went way better than we ever thought. Let's sustain it, right? Yeah. And I would.
So Op4, our PsyOps team, we'll just call them, our skirmishers who were out all night. They never came back. It wasn't like patrols that went out and came back, went out and came back. They were fucking out there, and they stayed out there, right? They were, like you said, shooting, napping, and this and that. The idea is that they were gonna skirmish you guys and harass you guys, but eventually the intent was to get past the line and kind of set up somewhere, right? And nap out there until 0600. At 0600, it was a coordinated attack that was gonna take place. We moved from the fob all the way down by Bill's shed and made an ORP. It was an assault position, but an ORP at this corner, right? What ended up happening was, so there was an adjustment. We pushed the feint attack down so we could better support our forces. These guys made it down, took out these bunkers in this sector. The feint team ended up taking out the command post. There was some bunker safety kill confusion there. And then Brent's team ended up taking over that this sector.
And this was the last one. I saw the last one fall. Yeah, okay.
And then we all came together in the middle and consolidated.
Yeah.
That was my viewpoint on it. Does that sound about right to you, Brent?
And that's pretty much what I saw, because if I didn't understand it, that was the last bunker. I was casualty collection point. I think we all saw the last bunker.
How was the command and control on that?
Yeah. Honestly, my personal opinion on it was there was a little chaos, of course. It was fucking dark as shit out there. Yeah. We don't have fantastic comms, etc. And it was kind of all on a hope and a prayer that you guys would be in place, we would make it in place all in time. And honestly, guys, this was one of the smoothest executed plans to what the original plan was that I've ever seen in practical application at 0500 in the morning. Now, there was some adjustments that did need to be made, and we did, and we got in communication with each other, and we made it happen, and it ended up working.
When we stepped off at like 23:30 or whatever it was, we stepped off with the assumption that we weren't going to have comm. So it was in good faith that an attack was going to kick off at time.
Yeah, and it was. So all in all, and of course, chaos fucking broke out, and it got ugly in there, but all in all, I was very happy with it.
Lastly, as with all One Shepherd semesters, it all comes to an end with a fantastic steak and beer dinner, fit for a warrior. That's it, guys. That covers the FTX for the fall 2019 semester of One Shepherd. One Shepherd will be hosting for the first time in 2020 4 semesters, with 2 being held at Alpha Company in Missouri and 2 being held with Bravo Company in West Virginia. So if you're interested in participating in any of that training, be sure to check out their website, which I'll have linked in the description box below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you guys out there for future One Shepherd semesters.